My wheel to like change like POVs and stuff because I don't have controller that works for this version of F1. Don't know why.
Right, yeah, gotcha.
So I'm just gonna have to run back and forth.
It's not.
Which shouldn't be that much of a
It's
problem.
not too bad. We only do it a couple of times, right? Why is it round 4, Baku? I thought it was round 3, but okay. I don't know this racing league anymore. Oh, hang on. Have I pressed go live there? I have. I've just realised I'm projecting. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a little while since I've had someone alongside me, but after taking a little bit of an away day last time out when we had round number 3, it's somebody else's turn. And, well, it is Domsey, who stood in last time out, who has joined alongside me for round number 4 of this championship. Firstly and foremost, how are we?
Yeah, pretty good. Just excited to get going with the action. Yeah, how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing very well, thank you. Been a busy week in the world of motorsport, but also in the world of online sport as well. We've heard some massive news in the last couple of weeks. Yana Watme going to Red Bull being one of the main highlights over the last couple of weeks. But here we are. It's competitive speed series, and well, the drivers as they start qualifying. Here is how things are looking in terms of the schedule as things stand. Last time out, we were at Saudi Arabia for round number 3, and tonight it is Azerbaijan for round 4 of the championship, and it is going to be an absolutely brilliant night of racing, no doubt about that one. And in terms of your championship, everything is still to play for. ETA out in front with 130 points, and CPI in second on 114, and Team Exeter, one of the newest teams on the grid, 90 points to their name, really having a strong showing so far this season. I mean, you were there watching the action last time out, Domsey. How did you find it?
I mean, Yeah, it was a very good battle between ETA and TTM. Unfortunately, Thomas Covers did retire in that race as he was fighting for the win, but it was an ETA 1-2, which was quite good showing from Renz Twassen, and I forgot who the other one was, unfortunately. Apologies. But yeah, just excited to see how ET8 will do. Can they increase their championship lead? Are they going to fall behind to TTM or Exocoastia, as you have mentioned?
Yeah, absolutely. And well, the action is going to be getting underway in just a couple of moments' time. The drivers are in the lobby and just putting their setups on. So it's going to be really interesting to see what we're going to get in terms of this qualifying session. Who are you picking as maybe the most likely to be at the top of that timesheet come the end of qualifying? It appears Cocom has disengaged slightly for a second, which is no worries because we have cars on track as the beginning of Q1, not Q1, the only qualifying session does get underway. Remember, ghosting is on for the session just to prevent slipstream, but Q1 now getting underway, going to set the grid for the race. We will have a lobby restart in the middle of that, but I ask you my question again, Domsey. Who do we think could be top of the timesheets come the end of this session? Who is looking good, do you think?
Well, looking at the current drivers out, I think it could be either. It'll be a very close fights between Flopman, K. Gatkowski, and Raphael, I think. Just looking at what drivers are out currently. But I mean, it's all to play for. The ET8's also really good. Uh, IRT did get a P4 finish in last week's race, so maybe they can get onto the podium this week. Yeah, it's all to play for.
Absolutely, indeed. All to play for, indeed. For some reason, my graphics aren't working for me, which is lovely. Love it when that happens. Trying to get the brilliant, lovely weather graphic. And there we go, it's working at long last. It is, well, it's very hot. It's very sunny, and it is going to stay like that for the entirety of this qualifying session. We've got about 15 minutes of qualifying ahead of us, and the first hot laps beginning underway. Casper Flag for ET8 beginning his first flying lap, and the first flying lap of this session. Going to be interesting to see what ET8 can deliver into this one. They're leading the championship as things stand, but can they hold it coming out the other end of this one? You'd certainly like to think so, but there's never any guarantees, as now they barrel down the first of many DRS straights.
As we can see, we've got loads of drivers already starting their laps. I think the one that is furthest ahead is one of the ET8 drivers. Casper Flatch, I believe, is leading the pack going into this first sector. Let me just go to him on my screen. Yeah, going through towards the castle section, one of the tightest sections on the whole calendar. Goes through, keeps as much minimum speed as possible. Of course, that is needed around such a tight track like this. Going into the final sector now, he probably is looking to take provisional pole, of course, as he's first out on track. But yeah.
Yeah, not looked a half shabby lap time from Casper Flag as he'll come round onto what this straight that feels like it goes on for absolute ever, as now he begins to wrap up that first flying lap of action for him. And as he does come down, barreling down the straight once more. There's a lot of sector times on the board at the moment as well. Plenty to talk about. Currently the man in 6th place, Flopman, with that fastest sector 1. But as Casper Flack comes across the line, he obviously goes top of the timesheets, a 1:37.657. But what can Flopman do to respond? And he will beat it by 2.5 tenths of a second. What a lap time from Flopman to really show there's some pace there from TTM in this, well, what's going to be a real good battle tonight, as now his teammate Enzo will come up to the line in just a couple of seconds, and this grid and this order ever changing, and Enzo can only manage 4th, but there you go. It's an ET8 double sandwich. TTM 1 and 4, ET8 2 and 3. What a start to qualifying we've got so far.
Also, the GT10 driver, Ghost King, also putting a not too bad lap as well, not being too far behind Enzo and both ET8s, but Flopman has done a really good lap time, 3/10, as we do see Filivek 08 look to have retired. That looks like it might be either a crash or a qualifying ban. I'm pretty sure it's a crash though, because he did set a lap time. But yeah, Damien Curiel also set a lap to get into P7. Just in the sandwich between both CPI drivers of Kay Gakowski and CPI Jordan.
Yeah, absolutely. Really good to see the grid looking very, very close at this early stage in qualifying. There's a lot of things to obviously talk about. You know, all of these teams have got some really good drivers in for tonight, and it's a really difficult track. I mean, you're obviously a racer yourself. Kind of, how do you approach a circuit like this versus other circuits? Is this a bit more of a difficulty, or is it just like any other circuit?
I mean, for me personally, I'm one that doesn't really like this track. It's personally not my fastest track. I'm not really a fan of street circuits. My driving style just doesn't really support that. But yeah, it's a very long straight as well with loads of tight corners, so setups will be varied. It's dependent on driver style, on if you'd like higher downforce or lower downforce.
Absolutely. And well, really interesting to know, especially once we speak to the drivers after this qualifying session, what sort of setup they are running. I mean, personally, if it was you in the driving seat right now, what would you be doing?
I'll just be focusing on getting as many laps done, but also making sure those laps are of the fastest quality I can actually produce. So yeah, getting into the 37s, of course, is a hard challenge, but for some of these drivers, it is, yeah, just pretty easy, especially for like drivers like Flopman or Ryderdale who are in PSGL F1, and also some of these other drivers. It might be really easy for these drivers to get really good laps in, but for me personally, I'm not one that qualifies that well.
Yeah, absolutely. It can be a real difficult challenge to get everything going well, especially in a qualifying session like this. The pressure's really on at a circuit like Azerbaijan with so many tight and twisty corners. I mean, what like standout moments are we kind of gonna come to expect tonight? Are we expecting a few crashes in that all-important castle section?
I mean, I've personally done it multiple times before in important races like these, just crashing out in the castle section, so I will not be surprised if someone does indeed crash through there. But it's all to play for. This is a very high level of driving here, so you never know what could happen. You could get a lost first, or you can get someone who goes on pole to absolutely dominate this race. It's up to anyone in the driver's seat today.
Absolutely will be indeed. Well, we are going to be getting those final couple, a couple more laps underway in a couple of moments' time. Obviously, there's going to be one man who's going to really be wanting to try and extract a bit more performance out of that one, and it is the man currently in 20th. Didn't get a valid lap time on first time around, and that is not great in a qualifying session, which is really, really important around Azerbaijan. So going to be looking for just that little bit more, as I believe it's Ryderhall who's going to lead us away on the start of these second runs. And going to be interesting to see what he can do. He was the first driver to set the first lap. Will he be the first driver to set the second lap, and how good will it be?
For ETH's chances in this championship to try and increase that lead, it must be a really good lap. Try and put it on provisional pole, but he is 4/10 behind Flopman, and that is a really big gap to try and close up. But yeah, I mean, it's up to anyone, as I've said before, in this qualifying session. Very good grid for today's race. In my opinion, looks much better than Saudi Arabia's grid. But you've also got teams like Aversio who are attempting to get back into this championship fight. They have not had the best of first couple rounds, but I reckon they can definitely get back in this race today.
Absolutely, they definitely can get themselves back into this race quite nicely. It will be really interesting to see what they can deliver. Going to be real important for them as a team to see what they can do. Noticing there's a bit of an error for YouTube, not liking my broadcast. A bit interesting. So we'll try and sort that out in a moment, but got these second runs underway at the moment, and Ryder Hall coming up to the end of his lap, looking at his sector times, improving slightly, not the hugest of improvements, but it's going to be interesting to see what he's able to deliver as he comes across the line now. And will he go top? No, he doesn't, but cuts the gap between himself and Flopman in half, so not a bad lap time from the man who now sits second.
It's only 1.5 tenths, if my maths is correct, between both. And never mind, as Flopman does set a 37.2, which increases the lead once again on both ET8, as Casper Flash also sets a 37.4, which is only a tenth and a half behind Flopman. The gap is closed, but it's still to play for. Enzo does set a lap good enough for second place. Can TTM in this race get back into that championship fight, as they are, I believe, second place? I can't fully remember off the top of my head. Yeah, they did not have the best of races in Jeddah. Sadly, Thomas Covers did crash out in that sector 1. Not exactly sure what the corner number is, but unfortunately for him and his teammate, who also got holed up in the pit stops, did finish, I think, P5 or something like that. So yeah, it's still to play for. TTM need to get back into this championship fight, and this will be a very important race to try and close that gap.
Absolutely, and a great job from Enzo to get himself up into second place and really show a good turn of form there for his team. As that's IRT Nick, who's gone up to 8th as well, so a good lap time from him to try and get his team looking a little bit better in this qualifying session as well. We've only got 6 minutes left on the clock as well, so not much time for these teams to make, you know, improvements and really take themselves too high up, but you know, there's plenty of time for a surprise or two. Which driver do you think is maybe most out of place versus where they should be?
CPI Jordan is down in P10. He did finish third, I believe, in last week's race. Same with Raphael for the TF10 team. He is, I believe, PSGL F2, if from the top of my head. So he's really fast, faster than most of these drivers out here. He's down in P13. Both Aversio drivers, not having the strongest of showings. Fox Blue has got a lap good enough for P11, and Finley, who's got a lap only good enough for P16. So they definitely need to improve those lap times in these last runs. But yeah, everybody back into the pit. A couple on their outlaps. Yeah, still all to play for, in my opinion.
Absolutely all to play for indeed. Going to be really interesting to see what these drivers are able to deliver. We've not got that much longer on the clock, as those drivers have, a couple drivers have come out on an outlap. Looking at Karumi, who is in 14th place at the moment, and then a couple cars behind there of Simon and Devin Shelf there in 18th. So it will be interesting to see what these three drivers are able to do, as they've offset themselves quite a little bit versus those around them. So will they be able to deliver a good enough lap time, or is it going to be kind of a little bit too late in this qualifying session for them to actually muster something together? Going to be really interesting, you know, to see what they're able to sort out for this qualifying session. Can they spring a surprise? Well, Karumi's certainly going to try in a moment. Right on board with his hot lap. Take it away.
So yeah, going into turn 1 here, brake as late as possible, preferably after that 100-meter board. Get a good exit speed, brake as soon as that bump turns out, make sure it's good apex, open the ERS, open the DRS as well through this second DRS straight. Going to sector 2 now, one of the most windy sections of the Formula 1 track kind of world. going through this chicane kind of corner. A little bit wide through there, but manages to do well. Braking here as late as possible. Little slide through the entry, and little slide through the exit, but it looks to have not lost him too much time. Now going into that all-important castle section, you have to make sure to get everything right. Shift down to gear 4 as you go through the tight section, then preferably gear 3, but he didn't do that. Cut as much of that apex as possible without exceeding track limits. Open the ERS once. Again, now go through this little straight. Now into the final 2 braking zones of this track. Make sure to keep as much minimum speed as possible. And finally here, braking at around 60 to 70 meters before he is a 10th down in his lap, unfortunately. Now he has to deploy as much ERS through here. He has currently got, I don't know if I'm actually allowed to reveal that information. But yeah, the DRS will be open in 200 meters. Now it's just a run to the line, deploy as much of his ERS as possible as he goes back into the pits, unfortunately. Not an improvement for him, but yeah, goes back into the pits.
I was going to say, IRT Simon did keep on his lap and does jump up to 13th there as he does make a small improvement. I'm noticing TTM Flopman, it seems to be on a hot lap, a push lap here, so it'll be interesting to see what he can deliver for TTM. They've been looking really good so far. It's currently a 1-2 for them, but will it be that way in about a 2 minutes time when qualifying is all over? Enzo's invalidated his outlap, as has Raphael. Not that that matters too much because it is, after all, only an outlap. But as Flopman goes through the castle section, brushing the wall, might have lost a little bit of time there through the castle section as we head down towards the end of this flying lap and then towards the end of Sector 2. This straight feels like it should have DRS, but the corners mean that it can't, but taken very nicely through there as you see that house moving out of the way, even though ghosting's off. And now round the final couple of ends, it's a purple Sector 1, a purple Sector 2. Will it be a purple Sector 3 for this man here, Flopman, who we now go with towards the end of this final flying hot lap? Can he get himself into the 136s? He has risen and moved absolute mountains in this qualifying session. Will he go top of the timesheets? No doubt about it. Into the 136s. A 136.897. What can the rest of the field do about that? I have a fear that they cannot do anything. What a lap time. Take a bow, TTM Flopman.
Very, very good lap. That is very quick. But Enzo as well, quick as well. Going through these few corners before the castle section, he is slightly down on his lap, but it's still to play for, as he still can gain time going into the castle section. Probably the place where you gain and lose the most time on this circuit. We've also got both ET8 drivers rided out, improving slightly on his lap as well. K. Gatkowski about to cross the line as well. He is slightly behind as well. Jordan is 3/10 up on his previous lap going into that sector 2, I believe. Same with the loads of other drivers as well. What can Ryder produce though? He is 3/10 up on his last sector. Going across the line now, make sure to have as much ERS as possible as he gets up to P2. Just only around a 10th behind Flopman, but can that time be beaten by Flopman? Who knows? That is a very quick lap.
Yeah, Enzo now up to the line. Will he improve? He does improve slightly, but not enough to get himself back ahead of Ryder Hall. So it's a 1-3 for TTM and a 2-4 for ETA as Casper Flacker hit the bollard there going down into sector number 3. And, well, CPI Jordan, I believe, has finished his final flying hot lap as well. Can IRT Nick make an improvement? He weaves as he goes down the straight, so that's looking very unlikely. EVE Finlay seems to be one of very few drivers on a lap. He moves himself up to 11th. That's not a bad lap time at all. And IRT Pablo, who's all the way down in 20th as things stand, coming up to the line. What can he do in terms of moving himself up? He only goes 15th in this qualifying session, meaning that CPI Jordan is the final driver to take the checkered flag. He doesn't post an improvement, and that is it. Qualifying over, TTM Flopman on top form today.
Yeah, very good lap from Flopman. Unfortunately, the ETA drivers could not come close to that. I mean, Ridenal did get pretty close to that, but was not enough, unfortunately. Yeah, 1-3 for TTM, 2-4 for ETA, as you have mentioned earlier. But yeah, this is looking like it will be a very, very good race going into this. Can ETA extend their championship lead? Can TTM get back into this championship? And can CPI fight from 6th and 7th to try and take that first place in the team standings? Who knows what this race can bring?
Absolutely. Wow. As I'm sure plenty of you have noticed, the stream's a little bit on the choppy side at the moment. So what I'm going to do is, whilst we've got the opportunity and the lobby restart, we're going to take a couple of minutes and we're going to try and sort this out and mean that you guys get a little bit of a better stream. So we will be back in a little bit. Just give us a little bit of time to try and sort this stream out so it's a little bit nicer and easier for you to watch. But we will be back in a moment. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back after a little break. after much faffing about, I've managed to sort it. Not quite sure how or what, but it's back. It's sorted. It's fixed. So we're not going to complain. And we're just going to move. And we're going to press on with the broadcast. I believe we're waiting for a new lobby to be set up. We clearly had a few teething issues with the last one, but as soon as we're in and sorted out, we will be getting this racing action underway. It's going to be a great race, no doubt about that one. What are we expecting going into this one, Domsy?
I mean, TTM, I think it's going to be a Flopman domination this race. We did see in qualifying that he did put a lap time in the 36s, I believe, or 38s, 36, I think.
36,
so,
yeah.
Into the 36 is the only driver to do so on the grid. ET8's also second and fourth, and first and third for TTM. CPI is doing sixth and seventh. Cannot exactly remember who got into fifth. Not sure if you know, Byron.
Oh, well, let me have a look at the results. The results have reset the names of people, which is not ideal. So, no, if I'm honest, can't see who was where, but what I do know is that it was a great qualifying session, great result for TTM and also for ETA. Going to be really interesting to see what we've got when it comes to the end of this one, right? When it comes to the end of this race, who is going to be right up there at the top of the time sheets? It's going to be really interesting to see. Noticing that for some reason the stream may not be giving a feed out. So let's see if that's 100% the case. Let me know in the chat if you're able to watch along and see what's going on. It's working perfectly fine. So a couple people in the chat saying hello to you, Dom. You seem to have some fans.
Yeah, well, hello to everyone in chat as well. Glad to see people supporting me. But anyway, I have got the qualifying results in front of me. Thank you, Ace. So, first place, it was TTM Flopman with a 36.8, followed by Ryderdal with only 2/10 behind. Then Enzo in third, followed by Casper Flatch, 5/10 behind the leader in fourth. Ghost King for the GT10 team in fifth. Kay Gatkowski and Jordan, the CPI duo, sixth and seventh. Then Damien Curiel for the TF10 team in ninth. Then IRT Nick, followed by Finley, then Fox Blue, Noxie, Raphael, Pablo Ortiz, then Simon, Karumi, Antsy, Devon Chauve, I think is how you pronounce that, and Philly Verk for ILD.
Yeah, looks like it was a really interesting qualifying session. Apologies to everyone for it not being in the best of quality. But hey, we move. We've got a race about to get underway on our hands. And it's going to be a good race. Absolutely. I mean, the championship, so close. Just give you a refresher as to what that looks like. ETA out in front on 130 points as things stand, followed by CPI on 114, Team Exeter on 90 in third, 79 for TTM in fourth, TF10 on 70, GT10 on 40, 38 for IRT, Visio Racing 37, and then the other IRT on 35, and then Optimum Velocity Racing with 9 points there right at the back as things stand. But so much time for things to change. I mean, Domsy, are we expecting maybe a few changes in the championship tonight? I mean, that qualifying result certainly says there could be a bit of changing.
Yeah, I mean, I think the TTM, I think they're fourth currently in the standings. So I think with that qualifying performance, they can definitely try and push for second place. I'm not sure if first in the team's championship is available for them this race, but they can definitely close that gap this race. Of course, ETA in the lead, I think around 30 points ahead of VPI, I think. Um, so yeah, who knows who and where will finish. But yeah, I'm rooting for Flopman to get the win here. But it's anyone's game. It looks like Flopman just has the most pace out of everybody on the grid.
Absolutely, but qualifying results mean absolutely nothing going into a race, because that pace you're able to deliver and unleash onto that racetrack is going to be more important than anything. And well, looking at it, it does seem like everything is running a little bit smoother and a little bit better on the stream front. And also, nope, it's decided to die again. What is going on? I've got no idea.
The stream.
It's not died, it's just going back to incredibly low frame rate again. It seems to be any time we're in a lobby session. I'm not sure. Let's see how we go, because it's back up to excellent. So we'll see. It could just be, for some reason, my PC's having a moment. But nonetheless, we've got a race on our hands. The drivers are already up, putting their setups onto their car, and we'll be getting underway in a couple of moments' time. I'm interested. Do you think TTM can convert a dominant qualifying into a dominant race, or do you think the race pace maybe not going to be quite as dominating as it was in quali?
I mean, other drivers have their own strengths. You might have one that has got not the best qualifying pace, but really good race pace, and one that has got really good race pace and really good quali pace, sorry, and really bad race pace. So, yeah, I mean, as we've seen, Flopman did get pole position. I've said this multiple times before already, but yeah, looks like it might be TTM domination here. Trying to get back into that championship fight after a not so good Jeddah race. But yeah, it's all to play for in my opinion.
Absolutely going to be all to play for indeed. Really try to keep an eye on this stream, because it is being so temperamental, and I have got no idea what is going on and why it's being quite like that. But we have got a race on our hands in a couple of moments' time. Looking really forward to this one as well. It's going to be an absolutely sensational race, no doubt about that one. I mean, what are you most looking forward to about this race? Are you thinking about, you know, all of the possibility for drama, dive bombs, and just general chaos, or kind of what are you looking forward to most, do you think?
I think with that long straight and the DRS changes that have been made to this game, I think we can see loads of different moves going into that start-finish straight. It's of course really, really long. The longest on the Formula One calendar, of course. So loads of moves through there, also through that second DRS straight can be multiple moves. But yeah,
Here we go
looks like
then.
we're starting here.
Indeed, and well, on board with Flopman as we get underway here in Azerbaijan. I was trying to fix the stream and make sure everything was going to be good as we got the run down into turn one. Fortunately, everything went flawless, and it did go flawless for the man out in front at the moment, Flopman, as we get lap number one underway. Raphael currently displayed as that one man in P1, but at the moment that is definitely not the case, as it looks like the lobby might be a little bit.
I think the lobby is glitched.
But it should sort itself out come the end of this opening lap. But Flopman leads ahead of Ryder Hall, Enzo, Casper Flack in fourth place, Ghost King fifth, Gatkowski seventh, eighth for CPI, Jordan. Damien Corelli, there you go. The timing tower has sorted itself out after everyone's gone past that first sector timing, and we see a near moment there between the two CPIs as they went towards the castle section on lap number 1 of 26. Everyone seems to have got away relatively smoothly, but well, there's plenty of time for that to change as we get the start of this race properly underway. But Flopman leading, we wondered if it would be quite as dominant of a start. It certainly looks pretty comfortable out there.
Yeah, looks like there's not really many changes in this opening lap. Looks like both adversaries have gotten into that top 10, but I say we take a look at the strategy. Very diverse, definitely not how it was in Jeddah. Got the top 5 all starting on mediums, then both CPIs on hards as VSC does come out. No clue what could have happened there, as it looks like Pablo Ortiz is out of the session, unfortunately.
Does seem that way indeed. It must wonder if it's due to his teammate there. And I'm just very interested to wonder what's going on there between those two. It looks like it might have been a collision between himself and his teammate as Flox Blue does come into the pit lane. So maybe that's a little bit of a sign as to why is taking advantage of that pit stop. I will load those all-important tyre compounds for you. We can't show the ERS. The teams don't like it when we do that, but we are getting lap number 2 underway, and as a reminder of the man that currently leads the way, it is TTM Enzo who leads the way from Flopman Rider Hall, and then Casper Flack in 4th. So it's a TTM 1-2 and an ET8 3-4 as we move through that all-important lap number 2. DRS now enabled.
Yeah, TTM's out ahead, very dominant so far. ET8's right up their backsides though, as also the GT10 driver of Ghost King is also involved in that battle. EPI Jordan a bit further behind, but with DRS can easily catch up, and within that corner breaks much later and doesn't actually catch up. But yeah, I mean, as we've seen in multiple times with this level of driving, it looks like there will be loads of DRS trains, and yeah, multiple overtakes. I'm going to be expecting Flopman to try and make a move for Enzo going into turn 1. He might be a bit far behind, but with that DRS and with the ERS as well, he is going into turn 1 just behind Flopman. He does not make the move. Finley takes the fastest lap with a 43.4. Never mind, that is Raphael with a 42.6. Going into this second DRS straight, still right behind Enzo, Flopman is. Can Flopman get the move going into turn 3 or 4, I believe? No, he can't. Staying behind him going into this tight and windy section. Raphael does move up to P10 from what I believe was P14, though. A very good comeback for him so far. Can TF10 be a dark horse in this race? Who knows?
Absolutely, going to be really interesting to see what is on offer from all of these teams in this race. We are at those all-important early stages, which, you know, the difference between those hard and medium compound is that it's most prevalent, right? Like, these medium compound tyres are in very good condition, but as we move through the laps, those mediums are only going to get worse, and the hard tyres are only going to get better. So it's going to be really interesting to see how it pans out come the end of this race.
Yeah, also, Kate Gatkowski, as you mentioned, on those hard tyres, has fallen from P7 to P9, overtaken by Damien Curiel and Aversio Finley. So yeah, as we get later on into the stint, the hards will get much faster, but as it stands, the mediums will be much faster. We take a look at Flopman. Flopman versus Enzo. Enzo versus Flopman. Flopman goes down the inside, gets the move done, and is way ahead of Enzo, as Flopman does take that fast slap, which is promptly taken by Damien Curiel with a 41.1. Noxie and Raphael also fighting in the back, but we have got Flopman out in front, followed by Enzo, and Ghost King does actually make the move for 4th place, as he is battling with Casper as we speak. Casper did get the DRS, which I'm not sure if Ghost King did, but that is Casper Flash keeping on to that P4, followed by Ghost King, and of course the front 2 of Flopman and Enzo, as Flopman does increase that gap to over a second now. Maybe a bit of team play, trying to hold off the ET8s into this castle section. Who knows? Still got a long race to go, still 22 laps to go, and knowing the nature of the circuit, there probably will be, another safety car to follow as well.
Absolutely, very early stages of this race at the moment, but lap 4 of 26, Flopman out in front by 2.1 seconds at the moment, but so much time for that to change, right? It's so early stages in this race. I mean, just because that's how it is now is not going to mean it's going to be like that come the end of this race. I mean, it is anyone's game at the moment, but Flopman very comfortably out in front, but clearly going for a fastest lap on this one. He's got a purple Sector 1 and Sector 2, so clearly pushing on quite hard, probably using quite a lot of the battery at the same time too as he comes across the line. Should be a purple lap time. It is a purple lap time for that man. TTM Flopman, good form at the moment, but will it last as Ryder Hall up into second place, and probably will now try and set his sights on closing that 9/10 gap to try and get onto Flopman.
But it does look like there is a lot of TTM teamwork here, as Enzo either has damage or has slowed down the rest of the grid so much that Flopman can just focus, put his head down and try and drive away. Rodadal still in P2, followed by Enzo and Casper Flatch. Damien Curiel as well. I'm pretty sure he started 9th and has moved up to 5th within the first 5 laps. Very good start for him so far. As I've said, PF10 could be dark horses in this race. Yeah, still to play for in this race.
Absolutely all to play for indeed. We are only on lap 5 of 26. It feels like it's been quite a bit longer, but the lap time here is quite long. And well, when it is such a long lap time, it does really open up the opportunity for things to change, for things to go wrong lap to lap, and well, does provide that window of opportunity for that virtual safety car just that little bit more as well, because it can be so short, that virtual safety car is, in terms of the time and distance covered across that lap. So strategy so important, and clearly the strategy for Flopman was to get out in front by over a second and try and keep it, and he's doing a good job at the moment. 2.5 seconds the gap, and Flopman comfortably out in front as Enzo looks to the inside and gets to the inside and comfortably ahead of Ryder Hall here. ETA are really going to have to battle this man, TTM Enzo, as there's maybe a little bit of a DRS tactic, going on here between Ryder Hall and Enzo, as now they head down the second straight here. DRS doesn't open for either of them, so Enzo falls to 4th.
Yeah, very interesting there. I don't know what happened with the game to not give either of them DRS, but that did help Casper Flatch out to get that 3rd place to make a double podium for ET8 here, just like Piastri and Norris did earlier this afternoon at Monza. But yeah, anyway, Enzo in that 4th place. Unfortunate for him to not get that DRS, but there is always another lap. There is always another opportunity to try and get back into that 2nd place to make it a TTM 1-2 here.
Absolutely, so many opportunities for all of these drivers at the moment. I mean, so early on in the race that, for example, Flopman could have one mistake, one blunder, and it all comes unraveling for him. So just because he's out in front by 3.5 seconds at the moment means absolutely nothing. So do not even think about going anywhere, because well, you know, it's still anyone's game at the moment. I mean, maybe not Pablo, he's out of this one, but anyone else, they've still got a chance at getting a good result here.
Yeah, Flopman increases that gap to 3 seconds now, nearly 4, as ET8's battle followed with the TTM, and Damien Curiel also right behind Enzo here, trying to get up into that podium for that TF10 team. Ghost King as well has been keeping consistent, only dropping 1 position in this race. But take a look at some other drivers who have dropped much more. Versio Fox Blue has unfortunately, I think, got wing damage from the incident with Pablo. And as I say that, Anti goes into the pits and is currently in P19. But Fox Blue has moved down 6 positions over the course of this race. Some other drivers who have increased multiple positions. TF10 Raphael, both TF10s doing really well here. And it looks like there's more team gains for that ET8 team, as Casper is holding up Enzo as Radadal does try and move. As Enzo tries to make a move, going into the final two braking zones of this race, Enzo does get ahead, but that does mean Casper will get DRS for this next straight. Flopman still 3 seconds ahead, but Radadal is pushing, and he's pushing hard to get that gap closed up. So it's still all to play for in this race, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, Casper Flatch has got the DRS. So does Damien Curiel. So maybe Damien could also capitalise from this. Damien just behind. Damien goes into the pits very early, trying to go for an undercut to avoid traffic. A classic strategy used multiple times in races like these. But Damien and Noxie as well into the pit lane for fresh, hard tyres, it looks like, and it looks to be going to the end of this race with this compound, especially as the hards on this game have got much more tyre life in them than they did on last game, which makes the softs, unfortunately, pretty much useless in most tracks. But Damien Curiel, all the way down from P5 to P14 following a pit stop, that could be a really good strategy, or could that be, unfortunately, a bad strategy for him?
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how it pans out. He's got 10 seconds. He's got a nice window between himself and the car in front of him. So he's got a nice amount of space to push and really try and get some good and decent lap times in. But it'll be interesting to see what he's able to do. You know, he was in that good battle there. In floating around the area of that P5. So, you know, this could be a good undercut strategy, but obviously it does mean he'll be a little bit more susceptible later on in this race when it comes to it. Maybe when it matters most, if he's not got the tyre life and advantage that those around him will have. So, an interesting strategy, an interesting gamble, but will it pan out for him? It's really anyone's guess at the moment, but there's going to be maybe quite a bit of a duel down the straight at the moment, because Ghost King very close to the back of Enzo, and also Jordan very close to the back there. Is who's that coming into the pit lane? That's
Casper Flatch into the pits.
Yeah, and wow, Enzo nearly felt susceptible to Ghost King there as we move on to lap number 9 in a 10-second penalty for Raphael for speeding in the pit lane. That is not ideal at all for Raphael.
Yeah, well, we take a look ahead. Ghost King does take that third place. It's still a fight. Enzo loses 2 positions there, unfortunately. He's still side by side with Jordan. He cannot make the move, so Jordan stays ahead. Slight little contact between Jordan and Enzo there. Not enough to warrant a penalty in Stewart's post-race, but yeah, we're going to the pit stop windows now. Of course, got Damien Curiel and Casper Flatch, who have already boxed in this race. Also, the hard runners will be boxing much later in this race to get advantage of that overcut on the fresher tyres towards the end of this race. Did work pretty well in Jeddah without the safety cars, but still all to play for. Flopman increases that gap 3.3 seconds now, followed by Ryder and Ghost King in that third place, but still to play for. It is pretty far behind for Jordan as he does catch up within that corner. I think it will be a very quick run towards that turn 1.
Absolutely, and Jordan could be looking to make the move on Ghost King very nice and easily here, but it seems like a couple of drivers, in fact most, pulling to that left-hand side. So is anyone going to come into the pit lane? Yes, Ghost King does come into the pit lane, as does Ryder Hall, Enzo and Finlay. None of them get a penalty, fortunately for them, unlike Raphael, who this time a lap ago did come in and got himself a 10-second time penalty. That was not ideal for him at all, but the one man who might have lost out heavily, you know, has that extra, I suppose, lap to try and undercut, but that 10-second penalty gonna really hurt him. But now CPI Jordan, Gatkowski, gonna be left to scrap for a lap, whilst the undercut advantage from those who've pit could come back to bite them, because look at Damien Corral, who is running in 10th place at the moment, but quite nicely as Devin Shuv retires from the session. That's in Sector 1, but not enough to cause a safety car or virtual safety car which will be music to the eyes of those who've just pitted.
Yep, Flopman, I would believe, will be boxing at the end of this current lap, following everybody else's strategy, and I believe he will still be ahead, but Damien Curiel has played that strategy really well. But from here on out, it could be a tyre game for the other drivers, as Damien Curiel did get a good pit stop. Only 2 seconds behind him is Ghost King, so very good undercut for Damien. Maybe if Flopman comes out of the pit lane, he could be fighting for the lead of this race, but those tyres, as he did box earlier, can hurt him in the grand scheme of things.
Oh yeah, and it absolutely likely will, as Flopman into the pit lane from the lead of the race. It won't be the lead of the race when he comes out, but that's because those who have stayed on the hard compound tyres will take those places off of him. But Flopman, where will he come out in all of that? He does come out ahead of Ryder Hall, so comfortably still out in the provisional net race lead as things stand. But obviously the strategy difference between those out in front will be interesting, as Gatkowski and Jordan are probably likely going to be working together to try and make this strategy work. The inverse might just be the way to go if you're able to work with your teammate, like Casper Flack and Ryder Hall are doing as well. So going to be really interesting, because Flopman is a little on his own in this battle for the win, and it could come back to bite him.
Yeah, who knows which strategy will work best, hard mediums or medium hards. CPI Jordan and K Gatkowski in that first and second positions, both on the hard compound of tyres. I'm pretty sure all the medium runners have boxed already. Yes, they have. Every single medium runner has boxed now, so now it's just up to the top 5 now. When will they box, and if they box, how much will that benefit them? It looks like Jordan and Gatkowski working together, of course, trying to make this strategy work. Nick is 6 seconds behind, so he might not be fighting for the win of this race, but Jordan and Kay Gatkowski, they can be in the money trying to fight for the win here. But Flopman, he is the flying Frenchman, already 1.5 seconds ahead of both ET8 drivers. He's a little bit on his own, so he can try and push for fastest lap on this lap. He's got a bit of clear air ahead and behind him, so who knows how this race will pan out. We're still in the early stages. There could be a late safety car which could jeopardise everything.
Oh, absolutely. So much could change between now and that checkered flag. I mean, a safety car now would massively advantage those who've been on the hard tyres that little bit longer into the race. But, well, whether one happens or not is anyone's guess or game. We're on lap 12 of 26. If you're just joining us live, we're here for Competitive Speed Series, and we're here for round number 4. It is Azerbaijan. We've already had 2 retirements in this race. IRT Pablo and GT10 Devon Charu, who is, well, both of them retired in the earlier stages of this race. But we're on lap number 12 of 26. CPI Jordan, he leads at the moment, but that is not who the provisional net race leader is. That's TTM Flopman, the man down in 7th place, who went into the pit lane later than those around him, but has still come out after having about a 4-second lead advantage. But when do these hard tyre runners come into the pit lane? That's going to be the main question on everyone's mind as we get through this race. But as we head on to lap number 13, CPI and Jordan and Gatkowski continue to work together as Flopman continues to work himself nicely in that clean air, as a few bit of movement between those hard runners as Karumi, Nick, Simon and OVR Lucas battle it out in their nice 4-car train.
Yeah, we do see Casper Flatch and Ryder exchanging positions in that 8th and 9th, trying to fight their way towards the front of the pack, trying to close that gap to Flopman, which they have closed, to be fair, nearly within DRS range. I reckon one more lap, and they can definitely catch up to Flopman's DRS range and can definitely fight for that net race lead. But currently they are only fighting for P7, as we are waiting to see when the hard runners, which are currently the top 6, when will they box, and where will they come out after they box?
Absolutely, really interesting. I mean, we have no idea when they're going to box. I would like to get a guess from you. When do you think they might box? I mean, I know it's not very easy to take a stab in the dark, but if I had to put you on the spot, Domsey, what would you say? When are they going to pit?
So if we take a look at some of the medium runners, they lasted around when they box around lap 9, 10, 11. So I would guess the CPI drivers will box around lap 16, possibly 15. Maybe even later with 17. Might not be the fastest. K Gatkowski does take the lead though, as I say that. But yeah, I think it's only going to be a couple laps until they box. Nick and Karumi also battling. But yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. I
you
mean, once they do come into that pit lane, it will be interesting because that'll be the moment when the race really turns a little bit on its head and it becomes a little bit more of a pedal to the metal sort of style race, because at the moment, conserving that battery life and pace in the case of Flopman and those behind. Flopman done a very nice job to catch up to the back of OVR Lucas and this 4-car train. The problem with that is, though, is now he's going to get held up and fall into the clutches of Ryder Hall and Casper Fack behind, who are very much on the tail of this train as well. So maybe the slightly later pit stop could work out quite well for Gatkowski and Jordan, as those, those who are on the opposite strategy seem to be held up a little bit here.
Yeah, and let's not count out Damien Curiel to fight for one of those podium positions as well. He has been staying within the DRS of both ET8s, trying to force a move. He is only 2/10 behind now going into the long straight, but I do expect next lap for some people to come into the pit lane. But yeah, Flopman held up in traffic. He has lost some time as someone retires in that castle section, and
Safety car!
that helps the CPI drivers a lot. Maybe a double stack won't be the best for their strategy, but CPI, both IRTs, are in contention for that race win. Both CPI drivers are double stacking, which might screw over Jordan a little bit, but K Gatkowski looks to be fighting for the lead of that race, as RT Simon does get a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. But K Gatkowski, after the pit stops, he is in P7. Think about it, if he would have boxed, if there wasn't a safety car and he would have boxed, he would probably be much lower down. But now K Gatkowski, he has got fresher tyres and he has got a fighting chance against the drivers up ahead. It's still to play for in this race, but I'm putting my money on K Gatkowski to get a very good result. There's only 10 laps left, so still to play for.
Yeah, and once this safety car comes in, it will only be about 9 or 8 laps of racing left in this one. So really working to the advantage of those who took that alternate strategy. Unfortunately, it's just not quite worked necessarily strategically for those who went for what might be the optimum strategy. But at a circuit like Baku, there is no such thing as an optimum strategy, because anything is possible. Anything can happen at any time, and Flopman has certainly found that one out, as he has been dealt the short straw, you would say, in this scenario, as those behind, Gatkowski, Jordan, Nick, Karumi, Simon, Enzo, which is his teammate as well, Lucas, Filivek, Noxy, Raphael, and Anti, all into the pit lane, changing onto a set of fresh medium compound tyres to take them to the end of the race. And they are going to have bundles of pace versus those hard compound tyres that have been on for 4 to 7 laps for most of the grid here. So once we do get back up and running and under those green flag conditions, it could be a case of when Gatkowski reaches Flopman, not if.
Yeah, this really helps out CPI for the championship chances. They are currently sat in P2, only 30 points behind both ET8 drivers. So could it be a 1-2 for the Ferrari boys of who are currently taken up by CPI, or can it be Flopman or that ET8 team as well? And as I've said before, Damien Curiel can be a dark horse in this race, going up to P4 when he started. I think P10 or P9. Looks like Simon is back into the pits. Not sure why, especially as he just boxed. Might be a retirement for him.
Serving his penalty.
Oh yeah, of course. But yeah, Ghost King as well in that P5. Really good position for GT10 to be in. Currently, I think they're around 7th in the standings, if I remember correctly. But yeah, still to play for, of course. CPIs could be a matter of when.
Absolutely, definitely looking like a matter of when. Do let us know in the YouTube chat who is your prediction for this race win. We've got over 50 of you watching live with us. I do want to hear what you have to say. Let me know, who do you think is going to be taking the P1 position come the end of this stream, as I noticed that once again it's having a little bit of a moment trying to figure out quite what to do with itself, so we are looking a little laggy for the time being. I do apologise for that. I think it's an issue with my PC, not an issue with anything else, but once we do get back up and running after these safety car conditions, it is going to be an absolute duel in the Azerbaijan streets for this race win, because Flopman is definitely on the back foot here.
Yeah, from Flopman being 3 seconds ahead around lap 8, 9 before the pit stops, to now only being mere tenths in front of the ET8 driver safety car is, in fact, in this lap. So, let's see if TTM Flopman can get ahead. Can he get a good restart? Can Gay Gatkowski also get up into that race lead, not race lead, but move up? Of course, he cannot do that in the first lap without killing anybody. But Flopman, I think let's take a look at Flopman to see how he does on this restart, weaving, trying to get as much temperature into his tyres as possible before the eventual restart. Ryder Dow just behind, followed by Casper Flatch and Damien Curiel in 4th place. Still to play for that win of the race. I think the IRT boys can also, well, IRT Nick, as Flopman does get underway. He's got enough temperature in his tyres to get away. He does stay ahead going into turn 1, but Ryder Dow is right behind. Damien Curiel loses 3 positions, unfortunately, in that restart. Kay Gatkowski already makes up a place, as Flopman still stays ahead. DRS is, of course, not enabled for the first lap after safety car. It is only enabled after the second lap. But for that first lap, it looks like Flopman will stay ahead. Finley back down to 6th place, and Kay Gatkowski as well up to P5 within only a sector. Kay Gatkowski has definitely got the pace to win this race. So does Jordan.
Sorry, I mean Enzo just went for the most ballsy overtake on Damien Corelli, as Jordan nearly tried to do the same on Finlay, nearly tries to go for an overtake just before the castle section. Surely no overtakes into the castle section, please and thank you. No carnage today. I don't want to see a driver have an incident there at the castle section. No Charles Leclerc moment for CPI either. Gatkowski has made monumental moves. As a CPI Jordan, you have to say it's CPI's race to lose. Lap 17 of 26. Both drivers making huge moves here as Corelli gets Karumi, gets himself ahead of Damien Corelli. There are so many moves up and down this grid. It is pure carnage, but it is all to play for, and it is all in the form of an advantage for those medium compound tyres.
Indeed, of course, the tyres are much fresher for the mediums. DRS has been enabled. The mediums, not only are they faster, but they are much fresher than those hard tyres. Looks like Jordan, Enzo, Damien Curiel also fighting from that P10, losing from, unfortunately, going from P4 all the way down to P10. But Flopman stays ahead since the safety car restart. followed by Rideout and Ghost King filling up that final podium position for that GT10 team. Casper Flatcher as well, not had the best of restarts going from P2 to P4, but right behind him is the fighting CPI team of Kay Gatkowski and Jordan trying to get back into this race.
Exactly, we've got a lot of movements up and down the order at the moment, and so much time for things to change a little bit more as we get towards the end of this race. And I mean, 8 laps to go after we finish this one, and obviously Flopman is going to have to be doing a lot of looking in his rear mirrors come the end of this one. And I mean, it's really going to be a real dramatic ending to this one. It's so disappointing that the quality has not been what you might expect, but Gatkowski, for him, the thing that matters most is getting himself across the line nicely and having a good end to this race, because he could easily take a massive win, a massive points haul for himself and CPI. As now we head down the main straight once more, such a long straight, one of the longest on the calendar, and as we head towards the braking zone, you see him just inch that a little bit closer, but is he able to make the move? He is. He's able to make the switch back as Casper Flack goes deep there into turn number 1. He went one way and Casper Flack went the other and nearly went into the wall, and Gatkowski gets himself up into 4th. That is quite the display of racing as Casper Flack now looks to get overtaken by Jordan for CPI, as those scarlet red CPIs are really moving up the grid here nicely.
Yeah, very good move from Kay Gatkowski to get into that 4th position. Casper Flatch unfortunately losing out on that one. Unfortunate locking up, similar to how Lewis Hamilton done, but instead of actually going off the track, he did in fact make the corner. But yes, Damien Curiel as well, from P10 to P8 as well. Can he fight back to get into that podium positions? Also Enzo, he did take fastest lap, as you might have seen earlier. He is in P7, also on fresh mediums. So can it be a TTM 1-2 still, or can the CPIs still come back into this race? Kay Gatkowski is only 7/10 behind Ghost King, which means he will be getting DRS for this long straight, going down into the final few wavy corners. It's Kay Gatkowski versus the top 3. Who can take it, as Rideout does take the move for P1, as Damien Curiel, as I say that, he takes fastest lap with a 40.3. Ghost King as well, just behind, trying to eat up the crumbs of that move between Rideout and Flopman. Kay Gatkowski as well, still closing that gap as we speak, still fighting behind as they are going into the tight section of this race. Looks like Rideout will be taking the lead, as Ghost King does have a little bit of a moment which can help Kay Gatkowski to get back into this race. Enzo also making moves towards the back. I'm not sure if that's my eyes deceiving me or he actually did. But yeah, what do you think about the race so far? Who do you think will win, Byron?
I mean, you've got to be putting your money on Gatkowski, surely. I mean, that is one man. Casper Flack is out of this race. What has happened there? It's another safety car. The man who, he's crashing the castle section. I said no drama in the castle section, especially for a Ferrari. We did not need an I am stupid moment. Well, someone is definitely going to be beating himself up about that one. Casper Flack crashing in the castle section. It is calamity for ET8. They were looking set for such a good result, and it is unraveling so quickly for them. What has happened in this race? I mean, everything has gone wrong. What?
Well, it looks like from here, though, with the timing of the safety car, it looks like I'm expecting to see a few drivers go onto the soft tyre. Rideout does not. Maybe I was wrong. Apart from Kay Gatkowski is in. Same with Damien Curiel, as both of them with Noxy and some of the drivers behind are boxing onto that soft compound. This does help Ride It Out and Flopman in this race as well, as especially Ride It Out as he is staying ahead, and this safety car, according to the game and how the game works, will stay out for this lap and next lap unless everybody does not catch up. But look at that, it is very soft for everybody behind. But yeah, Finley going onto the mediums, which is quite surprising. I'm not sure if those mediums will perform as well as the softs do, but yeah.
Absolutely, Gatkowski in 10th place at the moment. Really going to have quite the task on his hand to get a good position out of this one now. He's still in the points which are awarded to the top 15, but the problem for him now lies in the fact that he has got a quite a lot to do. And, quite a couple of people have jumped from being a point earlier on in the race to a safety car, and they are wondering what has gone on. Well, Casper Flack retired. He went into the barriers of the castle section. Maybe it's advantage his teammate Ryder Hall, as a whole host of cars came in for the soft compound tyres, but there is quite the buffer, quite the window between Ryder Hall and those soft compound tyres. There's a few medium compound tyres in the mix there as well, so it's looking a little bit more likely for those hard compound tyres to hold on till the end of this race, but gonna be a real fight towards the checkered flag here.
This also does not benefit the top three, who are all on old hards. I am looking at Jordan for the race win, but also Kay Gatkowski as well on that soft compound tyre. Maybe he can weave his way through the last couple of laps into the corners, trying to make moves using the DRS as well. But I've got my money currently on Jordan to win this race. It also doesn't help ETA in their championship chances as well, unless Ride It Out does get a beautiful drive to get that first place, which is 35 points in CSS. But with Casper Flash unfortunately retiring, that could weaken their grip on the championship lead, and I'm looking at TTM and CPI to try and snatch that lead away from ETA.
We have got such a dramatic final couple of laps on the way in a couple of moments' time. The safety car should be in at the end of this lap, and I mean, when it does come in at the end of this lap, the carnage that is going to ensue is going to be sensational. It is going to be, quite honestly, one of the biggest, most chaotic and crazy displays of racing imaginable. And when the checkered flag does fall, who will be in that P1 spot? It is anyone's guess at this moment in time, but you got to say that those who are on the medium are advantaged slightly. Those on the hards in the worst situation, but those on the softs, if they're able to unleash that ultimate pace lap after lap, anything is undoubtedly possible. But safety car should be in at the end of this lap, and Ryder Hall will lead the field away. He will dictate the pace and tell and make that ultimate decision. And in terms of how the end to this race will pan out, it is anyone's guess. Get your predictions into that YouTube chat whilst you still can, because it is going to be so interesting to know. But safety car in this lap, you'll see Ryder Hall immediately slow down to the pace of a snail, and that is solely because he can dictate the pace. He can go as fast, as slow, or as erratic as he wants. He is the de facto safety car, and he will decide when this field gets back up and running and racing here in Azerbaijan. But as we head down the straight, it is anyone's game here in Baku. If you're just joining us, we've had a chaotic race, and Ryder Hall is about to lead us away and begin lap number 23, and he will wait as long as he can, but he has gone, he has darted and got us back racing here in Baku as Ghost King and Flopman will battle there slightly into turn number 1, but nothing worth doing on that occasion, as now Jordan will try and fancy his chances on Ghost King as we move through lap number 23 of 26 as Gatkowski makes a position there versus IRT Simon, and hopefully that man can make plenty more over the next couple of laps as Jordan tries to go down the inside, guns blazing on Ghost King, but can't quite make it work as Karumi ahead of Nick. So much action, so much moving. Gatkowski now up to 8th as Damien Corelli gets himself into 9th as well.
Yeah, Jordan looks to be trying to make that move on Ghost King and try and get into that top 3 positions. Enzo right behind him as well, trying to get TTM back into this championship fight, but Ryderdal is still ahead, trying to increase that gap between him and TTM Flopman as Jordan is sniffing Ghost King's backside. Enzo as well and Karumi also in this fight. Gatkowski on that soft compounded tyre might not have been his best strategy choice for him, but it's a strategy choice nonetheless. He is currently in P8 with only 2 laps to go after this. Fox Blue leads the session. He has retired anyway, so that doesn't really matter. But Jordan trying to fight for that lead of the race. He's within DRS range going into the start-finish straight, going into lap 24. Also for Flopman. Flopman, can he make the move? He is staying behind now, but DRS enabled. He goes down the inside. He cannot make the move, but Ghost King tries to find one. Ow! Flopman does hit the ball on entry there, and Jordan gets the worst of it as Finley as well spins in that. That will definitely have to be discussed by the stewards at the end of this race. But for now, let's focus on the action up ahead. Looks like Karumi has been promoted to P4, which helps his chances out. Same with Damien Curiel. Ryderdal still ahead, followed by Ghost King and Flopman after that unfortunate mistake. He was looking to win this race, now he's down in 3rd place, possibly with wing damage.
Absolutely, a real difficult end to this race for plenty of drivers, as yes, there is damage. I'm noticing there's damage to TTM Enzo in this race as well, so I'm not sure fully what's happened in that incident. Maybe the full gravity of it hasn't been quite reached and understood, because oh, and it's IRT Nick out in this race as well. It's carnage as we're getting towards the final stages. There's a spin there for Haas. That's OVR Lucas. What is happening in the final stages of this race? Everyone has decided to drop the ball. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the race leader somehow crashes in this, but Ryder Hall has really had it a little bit on the easy side here because, well, he's not really had any contest because everyone's been too busy scrapping behind.
Yeah, of course, it's way too late for a safety car in this race. If this was IRL Formula 1, there would definitely be a safety car, but in the game, it's way too late. As Ghost King and Flopman do make the move on Ryderdal. Flopman, can he make the move? Damien Curiel again with another boss with a 40.0. Flopman and Ghost King all fighting for those first positions, as Ghost King is ahead, and Damien Curiel goes all the way down from 4th to 10th and back to 4th again. Could that soft tyre really help him get into those podium positions towards the end of the race? Only time will tell.
Absolutely, time will tell indeed. Lap number 25 of 26 here in Baku, and well, so much to think about, so much contest, trials and tribulations we've had over the last 25 laps or so. I mean, it has been chaotic, it has been dramatic, it has been everything that these drivers may have wanted. It may have worked to their advantage, it may have not, as Finlay retires. That's in the pit lane. He won't get any points out of this race anymore, but plenty of drivers are going to be taking home massive hauls, but whether it's as big as they may have hoped or dreamed is yet another question. But as we now get on to what will be the final lap of action in a couple of moments' time, it is Ghost King who leads the way ahead of Flopman, Ryder Hall, and then Damien Corelli there in 4th place, Karumi in 5th and 6th there, going the way of Gatkowski. Damien Corelli, the best driver who's not on the hard compound tyres. There's all to play for the Williams man at the moment, and trying to get more points for TF10. Can he manage it as we begin lap number 26 of 26 here? Ghost King got a real contest on his hands.
Ooh.
As you see, a 3-wide moment into turn 1, and one man's forced wide, and that was Damien Corelli, as Ryder Hall does have to really fight here for position here as he fights for that second place. So fiercely contested, all of these positions at the moment, but what will it look like once we get towards turn number 3? Well, it is pretty much as it was, but Damien Corelli trying to get himself ahead of Flopman. He's managed to get himself ahead of Flopman, but can he stay there? He's shown the door, he's shown the wall, but he manages to sneak his way past. But can he stay there as the battling continues? And the corner is cut from Flopman, and that is surely gonna really hurt Flopman's chances of staying on that podium. That 3-second time penalty, and the red mist will undoubtedly descend in the cockpit there for TTM Flopman, as now he gets a 10-second time penalty for corner cutting and gaining a place as well, and that's not likely to be removed by the stewards because he fully, definitely cut the corner, gained an advantage and kept a hold of it. But Ghost King is the man who is currently P1, but Ryder Hall will be trying to steal it, trying to take it away from GT10, a team that have had so few points this season. GT10 sitting on a measly 40 points, could be about to easily make their points tally nearly double that as we head down the pit straight for one final time. Can he do it for GT10?
Oh.
He can't, as Ryder Hall takes
finish.
the win here in Baku. Ghost King in second with Damien Corelli in fourth. Gankowski recovers to fourth. Karumi in fifth. Raphael sixth. Enzo in seventh. Anti in eighth. Lucas in ninth. And Flopman falls to 10th. What a disappointment for Flopman, but very deserved for Ryder Hall and Ghost King. They have fought brilliantly.
Yeah, what a race we have just seen. Especially in that last lap was absolute carnage for a photo finish between Ryder and Ghost King. Yeah, it really sets the scene for the rest of the season. With ETA getting the win here, with extending their championship lead. Fortunately for TTM, they were looking to have a brilliant race, but unfortunately did lose out on that, especially after Flopman cut the corner there. But yeah, Ryder win. Very good results, followed by Ghost King as well. And can we talk about Karumi as well, fighting 12 positions up from what I believe would have been P16 or 17, all the way up to P5. Very good race.
Absolutely indeed. And your full race classification heading your way in a couple of seconds. Here it is. It is Ryder Hall who takes the victory here in Azerbaijan, followed by Ghost King and Damien Corelli there. Gatkowski in fourth, Karumi fifth, Raphael in sixth, Enzo seventh, eighth for Anti, Lucas ninth. Flopman, after getting 13 seconds worth of penalties there right at the end, does fall to 10th place and will not take many points away from this round. Jordan in 11th, Simon in 12th, Noxie in 13th, Filivek in 14th place there. And Finlay, he is classified in the race, but he will not score points as he retired in the race. But your non-finishers there, Finlay, IRT Nick, Casper Flack, Fox Blue, Devin Chavu, and Pablo for IRT. So what a race. So many dramatic moments in that one. Such a shame that we had so many problems riddling in terms of the broadcast. It's definitely my PC that has decided that it doesn't want to live today, but it's fine. That can be sorted. The action on track, however, absolutely sensational, absolutely carnage and chaos. It is everything you want. I mean, where do you even start unpacking that?
Yeah, I mean, of course, very dominant drive from Flopman before the incidents. But yeah, Ryder does take the win for that race. And Ghost King starting 5th place, I believe, finished second, which is very good for that GT10 team. Really puts them back into the championship fight. And Damien Curiel as well finished starting 10th, I believe, went back all the way to fourth. And from fourth he went to 10th, then to 10th he went straight back to fourth. So yeah, very good race, lots to unpack, probably loads of stewards, reports, and as head steward for CSS, not really the best for my night, not really, yeah, but yeah, very chaotic race, very good race as well. I hope you at home enjoyed it, and be ready for next week, because maybe there's going to be even more carnage and even more for this championship fight.
I mean, yeah, massive shout out to the man who finished out the podium, Damien Corelli, started ninth in the race, so a massive good job from him. And obviously GT10 getting a real good haul of points there with that second place really does good wonders for their championship. I mean, they were only on 40 points going into this one. They take a healthy haul going out of it, courtesy of one of their drivers. Unfortunately, the other one did drop the ball quite early on in the race. So what could have been, I suppose, for GT10 and plenty of other teams as well, having a driver out in this race has really maybe hurt their chances, because they could have got a little bit more. But a real good race. A lot of stewards reports going to be coming your way, no doubt about that one. But Domsey, final thoughts?
Yeah, chaos, great racing, great moves, just what you expect from an Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Of course, I'm pretty sure we're going to Azerbaijan next in actual Formula One, so hopefully we'll see racing like that in the actual race. But yeah, very just chaotic, lots to unpack as you've said. So yeah, who knows what can happen in the rest of the season. It is only the first half. We are going to break week soon, in a couple of weeks, so who knows? Maybe we'll see a bit more.
Exactly, and in terms of that, nicely segued there. In terms of where we are, we've just finished round number 4. Next time out, we have a mystery round. We won't know where we're heading until we're there, but we will find that out together live this time next week. But then we head to the Netherlands. We've got a break week. Then Belgium, Qatar, Las Vegas, a further mystery round for round 10, and then Hungary and Japan to round out this 12 race season. But a great haul of points for some, not so much for others, but it's definitely been a race worth watching. Apologies for all the stream issues once again. It is something we'll be sorting out for future rounds. For some reason, my PC has massively dropped the ball tonight, but it will be all sorted next time out when we head to the whatever mystery round that gets thrown our way. But until then, when competitive speed series returns, until then though, bye bye.